Welcome to George and Willy's World. My name is Mrs. Avery, and I am so happy to be back on the program. You might remember I was a special guest on the program a while back, and I brought in my instrument, and I played the oboe, and I read a story about an orchestra and all the different instruments that are in the orchestra. So I am so happy to be here today with George and with Willy. Now, today, Mrs. Mapes is not here. I think you might remember that she has a hand injury, and so she really wanted to be here, but she couldn't today. She'll hopefully be back next program. However, Willy really wanted to be here today, so as you can see, we've got Willy here. Hi, Willy. Are you happy to be back? Are you happy to be back? I think so, huh? So Mrs. Krantz and the George that you usually see are also not here today. Mrs. Krantz is visiting her mother all the way back on the other side of the country in New York, a place called New York, and she will tell you all about that next program. She'll be happy to tell you all about her visit to her mother, and George will be happy to be back to see you too. Because the George who's usually here is not going to be here today, I brought another special guest, and this is my dog, whose name is also George. So this is our little George. George, you want to say hi? And he's very happy to be here today to see all you boys and girls. And George, you might see, George is a very small dog, and you might think he's a puppy, but he's not. He's full grown. He's about 2 years old, and George is of a breed called a Maltese. And Maltese are beautiful dogs, as you see, with lots of white fur. And you might think that they normally have very short fur, but actually they don't. The Maltese, when they're in a show ring, they get fur that's so long that it actually drags on the ground, and it's really pretty if you keep it brushed. Now you might notice that George really doesn't have too much hair here, and that's because, as all you boys and girls who have long hair might know, if you don't brush it every day, it gets tangled. And that's what happened to my George here. I didn't do a very good job keeping his coat brushed. And so he got lots of tangles, and they were so bad that we had to take him to the doggy beauty parlor to get all clipped up. So he got a haircut, just like you boys and girls get a haircut when your hair needs to be trimmed. So George, except they had to cut off almost all of his hair, as you can see. So he has very short hair now, but that's probably a good thing because the weather's getting so nice and warm that we're happy to have nice short hair. Now, boys and girls, I was wondering, how many of you are going to be starting kindergarten in the fall? I know that April is a month where all the kindergartens in our area register their new students. Now, kindergarten might seem kind of scary, but really it's a lot of fun, and I know you are all going to have a really good time going to school. Now, today, I thought we would talk a little bit about kindergarten and about what happens in a kindergarten class. So we have a special guest who's going to be reading some books for us today, and she is a kindergarten teacher, and her name is Mrs. Johnson. And she's a kindergarten teacher at Scotten Elementary School in Grass Valley. So Mrs. Johnson, we're so happy to have you on George and Willy's World today.
And I am so happy to be here with you, Mrs. Avery. Kindergarten is so fun. I'm always happy to talk about it.
Well, I was hoping that you could answer some questions about kindergarten today and to tell us a little bit about what happens in kindergarten. And I also want to tell the boys and girls out here exactly something special about Mrs. Johnson, and that's that she was my children's kindergarten teacher. So when my son Fritz and my daughter Brita were in school and going to kindergarten, Mrs. Johnson was their kindergarten teacher, and I know they really enjoyed kindergarten and had a wonderful time.
We had lots of fun.
So, well, what can you tell us about kindergarten? What do students do in kindergarten?
Well, you know, kindergarten is a lot of what looks like playtime. We get to work with Play-Doh. The first thing that we get to do is make lots of new friends, grown-up friends and lots of other kindergarten friends. And that is very special. So we get to share things like Play-Doh with our friends at kindergarten. We read lots of books. We get to run and play soccer at recess time. We get to do lots and lots of different artwork, coloring and painting and messy jobs. And we listen to lots of music, and we dance and play games. I could just go on and on. Kindergarten is so fun.
That sounds like everybody has a really good time.
Even the teacher.
Even the teacher has a good time.
Yes.
I'm sure you have a lot of fun. Now, when a student goes to kindergarten, how does their day work out? So what happens? So a student comes to school and their mom or dad drops them off at school, and what happens next?
Well, they come to the classroom, and sometimes they even get to ride the big yellow bus to school. But they come to the classroom and they come in, and I always say good morning and how happy I am to see them. And then they get to greet their friends and find sometimes a book to read or a job to do. Might be a puzzle, it might be a counting job, it might be an artwork job. And so we spend some time just saying hello to each other and how happy we are to see them. Then we would gather in a circle time and listen to stories that each of us would tell. Maybe something special they had done the other night with Grandpa, or something that they're looking forward to, or something that might have just struck them as funny, and we do some sharing of stories. Then we have something very special called a friendship circle, where we talk about how much we care about each other. That's how we start our day.
Wow, you are busy.
Very busy.
You do a lot.
Yeah.
What else do you do after that? And then you have recess, you said?
We might have some recess, or we might have a chance where we get to choose a special activity to do. It might be art or reading or puzzles or even playing with trains.
Wow.
Or in the playhouse. Or it might be building with blocks. So there's some time for that. And then we have recess, which is, of course, a very fun time in kindergarten, and a snack time. Then we might come back in and do some learning jobs. So maybe it would be a special job with counting Unifix cubes, or something that was a game, or maybe a reading job, or even practicing drawing pictures and writing stories.
Wow.
It's a busy day at kindergarten.
It's a very busy day. Now, I know all your students have such a good time in kindergarten, and I'm sure they have some very favorite things that they get to do. And you said you had brought a list of some of your students' favorite things to do in kindergarten?
I'm going to put these books down. I interviewed my kindergarten kids and said, if you were going to talk to some kids that were coming to kindergarten, what would you tell them that was fun? And Mrs. Avery, I wrote them on a piece of paper and I brought it with me.
Oh, I am so glad you did. Would you like me to hold it?
Well, if I hold it here, maybe.
Okay.
One of the very first things was to play in the playhouse. We make lots of art. We get to make elephants with paper towels and paint. We get to play with the trains. We get to paint, to draw, to play with zoo animals.
Real zoo animals?
No, they're just pretend,
Okay.
Mrs. Avery. We even build zoos for our pretend zoo animals. One little friend said, I like to make new friends. It is fun. We learn how to be nice to people in kindergarten. We have a blue fish in our classroom. He is pretty, said one friend. And we are learning about fish. And we are learning about a special piece of music called the Carnival of the Animals, all about lots of different kind of animals that orchestra instruments play, just like you did one time, Mrs. Avery.
I like hearing that.
And we listen to lots of music, and we make a lot of music in kindergarten. And we had to stop, but my friends would have gone on and on. They had so much fun.
Well, you just do so many different activities in kindergarten, and you sing and you dance and you learn and you paint and you draw and
build things. Absolutely.
Well, how wonderful. Now, I know that several of the students going into kindergarten will get a special kindergarten kit from their school, and I know that one of the things that is in this kit are some books. and I believe you are going to read us a story about...
I'm excited about that. One of our very favorite books is Brown Bear, Brown Bear. I bet you've heard it before.
Well, would you like to read that for us, Mrs. Johnson?
May I sit down and read that?
I would love to move so that you can sit down.
This book is Brown Bear, Brown Bear, written by Eric Carle. Brown bear, what do you see? I see a red bird looking at me. Red bird, what do you see? I see a yellow duck looking at me. Yellow duck, what do you see? I see a blue horse looking at me. Blue horse, what do you see? I see a green frog looking at me. Green frog, what do you see? Well, I see a purple cat looking at me. Purple cat, what do you see? I see a white dog looking at me. White dog, what do you see? I see a black sheep looking at me. Black sheep, what do you see? I see a goldfish looking at me. Goldfish, what do you see? I see a teacher looking at me. Teacher, what do you see? I see children looking at me. Children, what do you see? We see a brown bear, a red bird, a yellow duck, a blue horse, a green frog, a purple cat, a white dog, a black sheep, a goldfish, and a teacher looking at us. That's what we see.
That is a fun book.
Oh, it's one of our very favorite books.
I like all the different colors, and I noticed that I happen to have a white dog with us here today, just like they have in the story.
Oh, for heaven's sake, how perfect.
I know, although it would have been fun to have brought a blue horse or maybe a purple cat too.
Oh, I don't know if I've ever seen one.
Well, maybe we should bring one on the next show.
Let's do.
Well, very good. Now, do you have another story about going to school to read to us today?
I do. I'm so glad you asked. I have a story about taking a mouse to school. If You Take a Mouse to School by Laura Numeroff, illustrated by Felicia Bond. If you take a mouse to school, he'll ask you for your lunchbox. When you give him your lunchbox, he'll want a sandwich and a snack for later. Then he'll need a notebook and some pencils. He'll probably want to share your backpack too. When you get to school, he'll put his things in your locker and take a look around. He might do a little math and spell a word or two. He'll even try a science experiment. Then he'll need to wash up. You'll have to take him to the bathroom. Once he's nice and clean, he'll be ready for his lunch. On the way to the lunchroom, he'll see some building blocks. He'll build a little mouse house and make some furniture out of clay. Then he'll need some books for his bookshelf. He'll start by writing one of his own, so he'll need a lot of paper. He'll probably use up all your pencils. When he's finished, he'll want to read his book to you. Then he'll want to take it home, so he'll put it in your lunchbox and tuck it in a safe place. When the bell rings, he'll run out to wait for the bus. While he's waiting, he'll play a quick game of soccer. Then he'll ask you to shoot a few baskets and do a little skateboarding. When he stops to catch his breath, he'll want to eat his snack, so he'll ask you for your lunchbox. And chances are, if he asks you for your lunchbox, you'll have to take him back to school. Can you imagine taking a mouse to school, Mrs. Avery?
You know what? I've been visiting in some classrooms, and I've seen classrooms that have mice in them.
Well,
just like your classroom has a fish in it.
Yeah.
Some classrooms have lizards, and some have
guinea pigs.
And some have mice.
Oh my.
And I was even in one classroom, and it had a Dalmatian dog.
Oh,
one of those.
My goodness.
Spotted dogs. But I think he only visited a couple times, so he wasn't there every day. But that would be fun to take a mouse to school.
It would be fun to just watch what he does. Sounds like he does a lot of the things we do at our school.
It does.
I think so.
Lots of learning. Well, I think now, boys and girls, we would like to do our activity. And then if we have time afterwards, after our activity, we would like to maybe sing a song. But we'll have to see if we have time for that. So, Mrs. Johnson, would you like to help me do a craft?
I'd love to.
Okay, I need to put George down here, and I'm hoping that he stays because he's been wanting to wander away, and he really likes seeing Willy over there. He's been having a good time playing with Willy. So we have two activities today, and the first one we're going to do is we are going to show our friends how to make a lunchbox.
Perfect.
And as you can see, here is a lunchbox that has been made. And it has kind of a little spring motif on it, and there's a kite and a girl blowing bubbles and a flower and a bee. And this is kind of like the lunchbox in the story.
It is.
So this lunchbox, you can make it with any kind of container that has a lid. And this container is a container of baby wipes. So this had plastic baby wipes in it, but you can also use, some of you might have a container that has chalk in it, so you can use that. And that one already has the handle attached, but you could either cover it with paper or cover it with stickers, and you can start. So how would you decorate this? What would you do if you had a choice?
Oh, I think if it came with the handle, I would try to find some fun stickers to put around. I might even write my name at the top if I could, or ask my mom to help me. But stickers sounds like fun to me.
And if you wanted to cover it with paper and you didn't have stickers, you could just take some glue.
I think you could take some glue and wrap the paper right around here. Maybe before you put the paper on, you could draw pictures on the paper and decorate it yourself. And then take some glue and put it on there.
Oh, that would be a good idea.
Very nice.
So you can have stickers, or you can look in magazines and cut out some pictures maybe, and then put some glue on those.
Good
and glue them on.
That would look great.
And if you wanted to, this baby wipe container didn't have a handle on it, so we made this handle by you can either take a strip of cardboard, or you can fold some paper up a few times so that it makes it a little bit thicker. And you can tape it, or glue it. You'll probably want to, you might want to tape it. That might be a little stronger than glue on the plastic. So there are a lot of fun things. Now, we call this a lunch box. Let's see what's in here right now.
I think it's a surprise.
Well, there are crayons in here. So this is like an art box. So really, you could put all kinds of things into your box.
Very fun.
What else might, what might some kindergartners in your class, what might they keep in a box like this?
Well, maybe some little paper and pencils to practice writing numbers or letters. Some special little prize they got, maybe. I don't know.
So you can keep it like a treasure box.
Maybe it'd be a surprise box.
Oh, that sounds like
Maybe they would bring a surprise every day and say, Mrs. Johnson, you will never guess what's in my box.
That would be fun. What a wonderful thing to do. Okay, so that is how to make one of those boxes, and hopefully you will have something, a plastic box in your house that you can use. And if you don't, you can ask your mom or your dad, and they can probably find you a little plastic box.
Good idea.
Now the other craft that we have today, and this is going to be a lot of fun. And I remember doing this when I was a little girl, and this was one of my very favorite things to do. And you start with a blank piece of paper and some Crayola crayons. And there's all different kinds of crayons, but we like to use the Crayola crayons. They tend to work the best. So if you have Crayola crayons, make sure you use those. And what you do is you take the crayons and you color the piece of white paper all completely. So you fill it in so that every bit of the white paper is covered with different colors.
Mrs. Avery, do you have to color kind of hard so it gets really colorful, or can you color really light?
Oh no, that's a good point. You want to color dark, so you want to make sure your colors are in fact that red that I had here. We might want to do that a little bit darker, so color it as dark as you can. And then after a while, you will have covered your entire page with all different bits of color. Now, once you've done that, then you take a black crayon and you start coloring over the top of all the other colors that are already there. And again, with a black crayon, you have to color really dark until you have something that looks like this. So you can see here's the color that was done earlier, the first level with all these different colors, and then here is all this black that's over the top. Now what you can do, and this is the really exciting part, and this is why we call this color magic, is you take either a fork or something that's kind of pointy, not real sharp, but something that's a little bit pointy, like a plastic fork might work or a plastic knife, and you can draw designs. And you pull out, people can see that I'm trying to do maybe a flower, and you scratch away just that top layer of black crayon, and it shows you the color crayons underneath. So let's, oh, you know what? Maybe we'll do a picture of a mouse here.
It looks like magic colors.
And it looks like magic colors. Now, I'm not quite sure how to do a mouse.
That looks like a mouse.
Does that look like a mouse?
A rainbow
I don't
mouse.
know. A rainbow mouse. It's kind of a silly looking mouse, I think. So that is another activity that you can do at home with just some paper and some crayons and just a plastic knife or fork. And this one is really fun. And again, it's called Color Magic. Now, if you would like some other ideas for activities, then you can you can look at the community calendar on NCTV, and that has some ideas for some activities that you can do at home, like our lunchbox here or our Color Magic. And now, Mrs. Johnson, we have just a few minutes left. Do you think we have time to do 1 or 2 verses of a song?
Oh, we have a really fun song we like to do at kindergarten. And you might have heard it before. Would you like to hear it, or would you like to try to sing along?
How about if I try to sing along?
Good, I'd like that.
I think we're running out of time.
It goes like this. Make new friends, but keep the old. One is silver and the other's gold. The circle's round, it has no end. That's how long I want to be your friend.
That's a nice
You know
song.
what? I have another one that's even better.
Do you?
And it's about friends too.
Okay,
Goes
well,
like
why don't we
this.
sing just a few verses of that?
Super duper. The more we get together, together, the more we get together, the happier we'll be. For your friends are my friends, and my friends are your friends. The more we get together, the happier we'll be.
And then you can...
What else could we do together?
We can get together, we can play together.
Let's do that one.
Okay.
The more we play together, together, the more we play together, the happier we'll be. For your friends are my friends, and my friends are your friends. The more we get together, the happier we'll be. Do we have time for one more?
I think so. We can do our jobs. We can pet our dogs.
Let's do pet our dogs. How fun.
Well, because we have lots of dogs here.
Yeah.
Okay.
The more we pet our dogs together, the more we pet our dogs together, the happier we'll be. For your friends are my friends, and my friends are your friends. The more we pet our dogs together, the happier we'll be.
Well, Mrs. Johnson, I think we are out of time, and I want to say thank you so much for coming on to George and Willy's World. I know my George had a good time, and I know Willy had a good time being back on the program. And it was so wonderful hearing about kindergarten and all the wonderful things you do.
Well, thank you, Mrs. Avery. I loved being here, and I love kindergarten.
It's a wonderful time, and it's just a wonderful place for children to be. So, boys and girls, thank you so much for joining us today at George and Willy's World. And please remember, you need to listen to lots of stories, you need to do your jobs, and you need to have fun playing.